2026 ins and outs for building your shape. There are so many things that could help you or hurt you when it comes to recomping right now. Like how to use AI to actually help and what to watch out for that will definitely hurt. I'm talking social media, DoorDash, GLPs. We're getting into all of the popular things right now in this week's episode. And this isn't your typical quick ins and outs. I'm going into the details of what's in and what's out for each topic. So let's get into it. And if you want to learn more about new opportunities to get more support in 2026 and work with me, stay until the end because I've got some new and fun things coming up. All right, there are 6 topics I want to get into for the 2026 ins and outs. I've been seeing these things come up a lot and you've definitely heard of them. You definitely use them. First one is AI. No surprise here, but we've got to touch on it. So AI obviously can be fantastic for so many things. And I am not an AI hater in this context. I use it for a handful of different things. It is really great if you know what questions to ask and if you know the exact inputs you need to get the information out. So for example, if you need to create a meal or like a recipe with certain things that you have in your fridge, I have definitely done this. I'm like, okay, I've got cucumbers, I've got dill, I've got coconut yogurt. Like what type of dressing can I make with this? I've definitely done that. It's very, very helpful. It's also good if you say, hey, these are the exact macros I need in this meal. Like what are some ideas that I could play around with to help me hit those macros? Like that, those are great ways to use AI. But what I see that is not so helpful and can be hurtful is when you ask it questions or you ask it to do things, but you don't know the exact inputs it needs. So for example, I had someone reach out to me and they're like, hey, I just want to let you know, like I used AI and it was great. It gave me the exact macros I needed. And I was like, oh, awesome. Like, what did it say? And she was like, okay, it told me I needed, and I know this person, so I know what she does for training. I know her height, her weight. I know all that about her. And she said, oh, it told me I needed 200 grams of protein and 30 grams of fat. And I'm like, oh, that is a great way to get gout from having too much protein and to get hormone deficiencies from not having too much or from having too much fat. And I was like, okay, but then even if it gave you like good macros, like your macros need to change often if you have goals. Like they need to adjust based on how your body's responding, the overall strategy. And so you would need to know the timing of that and when to ask it that and what information to give it to get to that point. So all this to say, what's out when it comes to AI is using it to determine your macros. And what's in for using AI is using it for meal ideas or for recipes or that to hit those macros. All right, number 1, AI. Number 2, social media. Another one that's so beneficial in so many ways and also not in so many ways. So the thing that's coming up that you're seeing more and more is you have to question everything. Even for me, for somebody who is like, this is what I do. I live and breathe like nutrition and fitness and the knowledge and coaching so many ladies. Like there is so much out there that is just not true, right? And so you really have to question everything, especially now of how much you're seeing and how quick it is. Like you're getting like 3 to 8 second clips with really, really short information where you're not getting enough information probably around that topic to even really fully learn it, but it's just quick. So for example, I just saw a video where some girl with a big butt was saying like, here's how you get a big butt. And she was going through these like different exercises and different things to do. And while that she was doing that, and it was all happening very quickly, while she was doing that, she had images which looked like generated images that like could be very helpful, showing what muscle is getting worked while you're doing these different exercises. However, if you actually know the glute muscles, the muscles that were like getting highlighted on this like image as she was showing these different exercises are muscles that do not exist in your body. They're like horizontal muscles on your glutes like short ones at the top, which like, wait, that's not the glute med or the glute max or the glute min. Like what muscle is that? And so it was just completely like made up stuff. And so this had tons of views though, because she did have a big butt. And so there are like genetic people out there who have genetic favorability to either have more body fat stored in their glutes, so it looks like they have big muscles, or they have followed somebody else's plan and have like genetic response where they do get glute growth really quickly. And then they're like, okay, well, now I can position myself as an expert, even though they haven't really helped people do that or like studied it or know what the actual different glute muscles are. So that's a lot of what's out there. So you really have to question everything when it comes to like social media, especially things like that when you're like trying to gain information. However, where it's really helpful is for inspiration. I follow this girl and she does 5 a.m. Harvard. Like I'm a college student at Harvard. Here's my 5 a.m. morning routine. And I love it. It is just inspirational. Does it mean I'm going to like do her 5 a.m. morning routine and the things she does? No, but it's actually, she doesn't even really share like, you have to do this, you have to do that. It just shows her like getting ready for a day and her studying, which I find super motivating and super like inspiring. So I really like things like that. Or when I see people who have like great physiques and they're like lifting heavy and it just shows them like putting in the work, like using that for motivation, I think is really helpful when it comes to social media. Or recipe ideas. Like I get so many that I see that I'm like, oh, this looks good, and I save it down in my like collections to go back to later when I like want some inspiration to come up with something. So there are so many ways that like social media is great, and those are examples of that, especially in the context when it comes to building your shape, and obviously some are not. So what is out with social media is believing everything you hear and see and assuming it is true just because someone kind of positions themselves as an expert on the internet. What is in though is using it for good, for like the examples I gave above, and or following a person or a method or approach that you have followed long enough where you have vetted it and you can kind of see this is bigger than just a like a one-off kind of like, I would say, cheap information. So like following a person, a method or a approach, and not just like one-off controversial like phases or one-off like cool images that you don't know the person, you're just like scrolling a bunch and you're just getting more and more and more and more. All right, so that's social media, number 2. Number 3, social butterflying. That's a verb, I believe. Making it up, maybe, but you guys know what I mean. All right, so here's what I'm seeing, and I think this is happening like ever since like I would call it like the packed schedule post-pandemic. Maybe after the pandemic, everyone's like, all right, we're back in it. Let's squeeze every single thing we can in. To the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you guys even fitting this in? Like, it doesn't make sense. Where I've had ladies being like, okay, well, I'm hosting at my grandma's birthday, and then the next day is my kid's birthday. We're having a party for that, and then it's their friend's birthday that we're going to, and then we have a soccer game after that where I'm also the team mom, and I've got to get together all of the like lunches for that, and then Friday we have my husband's like an event for my husband, and it's like a custom event that I've got to get a gift for, and then I told my friend I would do this spin class with her. And these people I always see, they never make or they never maintain progress because their life is so chaotic and they think that it's happening to them. They just assume that all of these things happen and then their life is like pulled in these directions instead of realizing, oh, fitness, nutrition, having this goal is a hobby, right? And so I've got to prioritize it as such with all of these other things. And even though I'm a social butterfly, I can kind of step back and reassess and like kind of grab the reins and be like, wait, what do I actually enjoy? What do I want to do? What do I not want to do? what is in and what is out of social butterflying this year. So I have other clients that I see, which I would say like this is where a lot of my clients go to, is they have the space and time on their calendar. I've heard it called like white space, and they have the white space on their calendar to like think ahead and plan ahead. So they're like, oh, I've got this social event on Saturday night, and they think through like the obstacles they'll run into and then get solutions for them. So like, okay, well, I've got to make sure I get a protein in, so I'm going to get this protein snack. Like they already know what protein snack they're going to have ahead of time. And then they have time to like shower and get ready nice, or they maybe have their outfit planned ahead of time, and they maybe get sleep the night before, so they show up like well rested, and then they have the best time, and they actually like have quality time at the event because they gave themselves the space to like fully enjoy it. And that happens outside of just the time we're there. It's like how they think about it beforehand, how they reflect on it afterwards. And then also, it's not that they don't do spontaneous things, but those spontaneous things don't happen every second of their day or every day. They may happen like, okay, they allow them to happen once a week, right? Or they allow them to happen on certain days. They're just very well like maintained and like curated, and it just feels like very mature. I'll tell you, I was the person, like the formal person that I just spoke about. I was definitely her all in my 20s. And that's why I could never build my shape in my 20s, because I was chaotic. And so I do think this happens like naturally as you age, but if it hasn't, it's something just to stop and question and consider. Like, wait a minute, have I assessed my social butterflyiness to review for actually what I want to do and what I don't want to do? And then how does my like fitness and nutrition and like physique goals fit into this, and my health goals fit into this, and how do I want to make it work or adjust for the new year? So I would say what's out is burnt out butterfly. I like that line, burnt out butterfly. And what is in is quality butterfly. All right, number 4, calendars. So here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of over planning and under executing. I like this line too. Over planning and under executing. And so what that looks like, and I have a client who she's listened to every single podcast episode. She is amazing. And she's going to laugh when I give this example because she's already figured this out. But she previously has planned her whole entire year down to the day. There's charts, it's color coded. She sent it to me, she's printed it out, it's hanging up, right? Like she's got the planning part down, right? So she had this whole entire plan, but then she had one vacation that didn't go as planned, and it offset a lot of this plan. So then the plan needs to be like reset and like re-updated, right? And so I see a lot of people who really focus on the planning, or they're like, okay, I get the information, I have the plan, okay, everything's done. It's just done. Where I've seen somebody else who I've coached her for a while, and I picked up on this pattern where she'll have lots of like type A weeks where she's like, okay, I've got the information, I've got the plan, I've got the macros, I've got my meal plan, I've got my training, and I'm like gonna build and lose over this amount of time and this amount of time. And then, okay, I'm good. And then the next week she runs into obstacles, right, that she didn't account for. And kind of like, she never says this, but it's kind of like this, like, okay, I know what I need to do. Like, I don't need to coach, or I don't need a coach. Where she's skipping over what's actually going to create the shape. So she has this like plan, but what actually creates the shape is the fine tuning of the plan, actually executing it. Versus where I see ladies have major success is they have an outline of the plan, but it's a little loose. They're like, okay, X amount of months, here's the overall game plan. But then what they focus on is then they go in and they find the obstacles, because that's what everyone has that doesn't have the shape. They just have obstacles, right? And then they make it their mission to overcome that obstacle and get coached on that obstacle and lean into that obstacle and get like dig into that obstacle. For example, I have a client who her goal is to build muscle right now. And so she is just focused on, she just didn't like map out a plan and be like, okay, that was it. She is focused on fine tuning it. Okay, let me go into my like training program and let me go into and complete the exercises, but let me get reviews. What about like the weight selection I'm choosing? How am I executing this? She's submitting videos so I can actually see how she's executing it. And there are so much room for improvements that then I give her feedback, and then she goes and she practices the feedback, and then she comes back and sends me the video about, okay, how about now? She is making so much progress because she knew that she focused more on the obstacles than just like the hitting the plan. The plan and the goal is kind of like the obvious, and she doesn't emphasize and get like caught up on that. She focuses more on like the obstacles. So what's out is over planning and under executing. And what's in is less planning and more coaching or getting coached on the executing. So I see this a lot. I kind of want to back up. I see this a lot for like my type A like go-getters because we're very like plan oriented. So we feel so good creating a plan. It feels exciting, but then when it comes to like execute and we come to obstacles, we just assume we'll never have obstacles because we are like, oh, we're great. We'll never have obstacles. But obstacles happen to us too. And that's the part that really like makes or breaks someone building their shape. All right. Number 5, convenience apps. So there are so many apps out there, which is fantastic. They're all like helpful generally in their own way, but it's how we use these apps. So what I'm seeing is we can overabuse DoorDash. Like when we're tired and we didn't meal prep and we're like, okay, well, I'm going to order something. Well, if I'm going to order something, it needs to be something fun. Instead of being like, okay, well, I'm tired. I don't feel like meal prepping. I'm going to use DoorDash to order one of my 2 to 3 go-to restaurants. So that's something that I teach and coach on in Create Your Shape, of having that in your back pocket for these moments. But using DoorDash, the convenience of DoorDash to actually serve you in your goals, and it can still be delicious and you still don't have to make it. Or using convenient apps like Instacart, where okay, I've been out of town or I don't feel like going to the grocery store, and then using Instacart to do the meal prep for you, or doing at least that part of the meal prep for you to save time and again make it more convenient. So what's out is convenient apps for convenient vices, another good one. And what's in is convenient apps for solving problems. All right, the last one, number 6, peptides, specifically GLP-1 and 3. So this is going to be a really, really quick touch on this. I know I've had requests to do full episodes on this, and maybe I will, but honestly, it is not something that I spend a lot of time thinking about and researching, and you're going to find out why in just a second. So for context, as we know, this is a weight loss drug. It is very popular. I know so many people who use it, and it's likely going to become more and more popular. I think there is so much more research that is needed to give us way more information. So I don't have like a hard stance on this is good or this is bad. I think for some of it's good, and more good things might come out of it. And for some things I'm questionable or is bad, and more bad things could come out of it. So I don't have like one hard stance. I think it's going to change as more research comes out. But at a high level, how it works is it slows motility. So that's what the food moving through your body that goes into your mouth and then through your stomach and intestines and then out. And it makes you less hungry. Okay, so if you have a large amount of weight to lose, then this may be a great option just to know what it feels like and just kickstart the process. And that, though, is not who I work with. That is not my clientele. So that is also why I don't spend a lot of time researching and looking at it. For my specific ladies who are already healthy and want to go from healthy to fit and want to build muscle and decrease body fat, it's not going to help you build muscle. So we can remove that from the equation. Will it help you decrease body fat? I think in scenarios it can, but it's only going to help if you're creating the calorie deficit So you still have to know what a calorie deficit is for you. And you still have to be eating enough so you're not eating so little that you're also reducing your metabolism in pulling for muscle and reducing muscle. So can it be helpful? I think so, potentially, but only at certain times. So at certain times, it's not going to be helpful, especially when it comes to like building muscle, or when you're trying to increase your metabolism, or when you're trying to like be in your lifestyle phase of eating enough and supporting hormones. Like during that phase, probably not going to be helpful. Would it be helpful in decreasing body fat? Yes, but you still have to do all of the other things in terms of like knowing your calories and macros to decrease fat, like so you're in a deficit, decrease body fat, but you're still eating enough to maintain muscle mass. And so it really would help you in that scenario just to like decrease hunger, where other things I find like when working with my ladies is eating enough first and then going to a deficit at a much higher intake decreases their hunger. So I am not like pro for it. I'm not totally against it. I just find for like most of the scenarios, especially who I work with, it's like not necessary or not needed. But could it be a supporting factor for some people? Maybe. The other caution though I have on it is like obviously what happens afterwards. And again, the way I like coach people coming out of a deficit phase, like I cover the lifestyle phase. We reverse out. So I don't think that really like pertains as much to my clientele. The only other thing that I'm like would question, again, just questioning, is what about gut health? Anything that slows motility and other drugs can cause microbiome imbalances, SIBO, other issues that I know I have dealt with and would not wish on anybody. And so that is something I question too. So again, overall, pros and cons there, more that I would need to see, but could it be used in this scenario? Potentially. So what's out is thinking that GLP is a standalone magic pill. What's in is having the science in place, regardless if it's used or not. So those are the 6 categories and the ins and outs within each of them when it comes to 2026 and what's trending and what's popular in the hot topics, I should say, that you're seeing right now. So also for 2026 and especially January 2026, I have some things coming up. First, Create Your Shape isn't going anywhere. The next class will be starting in March, so I just want to give you a heads up there. If you are a planner, that's when the next class will be. However, I know some of you just want one-on-one coaching. You've reached out to me, you've let me know. And although Create Your Shape is a component of both one-on-one, like it's very specific and custom to you, it also has like group components in it. And so I know some of you just want no calls, you want direct everything with me, and I get that. So I do have a few one-on-one spots. I generally prioritize them for alumni, but I do have a few more spots that I've opened up this year for those who would fit into that category, who aren't alumni, but want the one-on-one coaching. So if that is you and you want this like higher level of support, then reach out to me if you'd like to learn more and we can talk about it. The other opportunity I have is a short program called Build Your Baseline. I've been doing this program once a year and it is very popular. I'm considering running it more because I have been asked for it, but it is coming around again, and it is designed specifically for the lady who is lifting weights and wants to build her baseline when it comes to nutrition to support her training, but to build muscle and to decrease body fat. And she really wants to like set up her foundations when it comes to nutrition. So this is designed for the lady who is already lifting weights and wants her foundations set up with nutrition. So if you want the coaching and the guidance to start building muscle and decreasing body fat, it is a few-week coaching program with me, and we're getting started at the beginning of February. I've had ladies who like use it as like, okay, this is kind of like an intro and I'm building my foundations. And I have some people like, oh, I'm using it as a reset to dial back in. Or I've had people who have been at this for years and they're like, wait a minute, my approach doesn't seem to be like getting me the results I want. Maybe I need to like dial in and focus on a new approach, and I'm going to start doing that. So it is a perfect precursor to the Create Your Shape program, not only in timing, because we're doing this in February and then Create Your Shape starts in March, but also in general for what you're going to learn. And then you can build off of that, build off of the Build Your Baseline program and everything you learn in there. So this will be opening for enrollment shortly, so be on the lookout for that because we get started in February. All right, that was a juicy episode. Let's have another fantastic year full of weekly episodes, and I'll see you next week on the Create Your Shape podcast.